Howdy folks. So today we have something quite different. It's not electronic at all. It's actually a pen. This arrived from eBay a few days ago, and I thought I'd give it a little bit of a review. At my job, I like to write things down. I work with a computer all the time, and I still find that taking notes and drawing diagrams and stuff on paper is, it's just a faster, nicer way to go. And I thought, okay, well, if I'm writing a lot, I don't want to use one of those cheap company issue pens. I want to write with something that's nice. But of course I don't want to spend a lot of money. And I want it to be something kind of unique, something sort of different. So I looked into fountain pens. And fountain pens, I think when people sort of hear that, they sort of think that they're expensive. And generally they are. But there are a few manufacturers, specifically Chinese manufacturers, which make pens which are actually quite good quality for absolutely ridiculous prices. This pen in particular is the Jinhao X450. It's a relatively common Chinese pen. There are a few companies. Jinhao is one of them, Bauer is another one, Hero is another one. So this is maybe the second most popular Chinese pen, if I can, just from my own findings anyway. This thing, I'm not going to make any guarantees of what the price is when you look it up, but this thing was about $3, I think, shipped to me from China, and that's in Canadian dollars, so I mean it's something like 2 something in US, because Canadian dollar's crap right now. So this is a red one. It's got these spirals on the base and on the cap. You can buy this in a whole bunch of colors and patterns, some of which are actually quite cool, although the price does change for the different designs. So it's a pop top, and it reveals that this is indeed a fountain pen. So I'll just give a little bit of an overview. So the cap has nothing on the end of it. Finding the focal distance is going to be interesting. So it's everything is gold on this. It's actually quite a nice, rich gold color. It's got 3 dots on the clip, and the clip is actually pretty strong. I mean, that's not going to break off on you, which is actually quite nice. It says Jinhao on one side, X450 on the other, and you can tell it's some sort of spinning engraver bit that's gone over this, because it's kind of got that dotted pattern, which is kind of nice. And we just have a band on this side. So it pops open. It's actually a good force, and it makes a nice, satisfying clicking noise when you put it back together. I actually quite like that, to be honest. That's a very nice feeling. You can see inside here there is what looks like sort of like a paper sleeve, or maybe a plastic sleeve, and I've already gotten a little bit of ink on it because my aim's kind of bad getting the pen back in. But I can't see any obvious failure modes in the cap. The first thing, of course, when you pick it up is it's a very heavy pen. I don't have my scale with me right now, but it's definitely one of the heavier pens that I've bought. When you post it, I don't want to say it's completely top heavy, but I think depending on how quickly you write, this may actually, you may not want to post it at all, because it's actually quite well balanced without the cap on it. Although, the cap doesn't, you can get the cap to stay on quite well, actually. So I don't think that would come off if you were flinging it around. So the pen, we've got another of that gold ring. We have it's a hard plastic. It's not, it doesn't feel like it's urethane or anything like that. It's just a hard black plastic with 3, what do you want to call them? Indentations with grooves on them, which is supposed to be where your fingers go if you hold the pen properly. And we have our nib here, and see how well I can do this in the light, unfortunately. It's got the Jinhao logo. It says Jinhao, and then it says 18 KGP, which should mean 18 karat gold plated. I somehow doubt that for the price I paid, but hey, you never know. Gold plating, you know, is just atoms thick, so I mean, it is possible. I don't really have a good way of testing if it's actual gold or not, but honestly, I don't really care. I mean, it's probably not iridium or any of those nice metals, but you know, it was $3. I'm always going to go back to that. It was $3. But honestly, it looks very nice for a $3 pen. You know, that nib has got quite nice embossing on it. I mean, I'm sort of a stickler for looks on this. I mean, it writes well, but it also looks kind of cool. So there's a breather hole in the center, and you've got the 2 tines with the split in the middle, and it's a nice round point and just a standard plastic feeder on the bottom. So to open this pen, it's a standard twist, and it's a standard cartridge converter pen. And you can see I've got some ink in there right now. It's a cheap converter, but it hasn't leaked or anything like that so far. It seems to be okay. So, of course, you can, like I said, it's standard, so you can always replace it if you don't have faith in it holding back your ink, because you definitely don't want this to leak. So, I guess then the big thing is, how does it write? And I can't really say that every pen is going to be exactly the same, because, I mean, the quality control on this is probably not great. So the fact that my nib happens to have certain attributes doesn't mean that your nib would have the same attributes. This particular nib that I got, it's actually quite good in terms of all the directions. It doesn't scratch in any of the directions or anything like that. However, it is very, very wet. And when I say that, I mean it puts a lot of ink on the page. So when this thing runs out, what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to try and close up the tines to try and reduce the amount of ink flow, because it makes me have to write quite quickly in order to avoid it bleeding all the way through the page. And I don't write terribly fast, so it's kind of an issue. But other than that, I mean, and obviously I can close up the nib. I mean, that's quite easy to do. Opening them is slightly harder, so I mean, I guess it's better to start out too wet than too dry. But other than that, I mean, I don't have any complaints. I think this is an excellent pen for the price. So I'll just write some stuff down. It does dry start a little bit, probably because I tipped it upside down and you saw the ink fall out of it. Now, that was horrible, but again, I have to sort of move my arm around my tripod, so it's very... Also, I have horrible handwriting, so... I mean... It's actually quite nice. I mean... it's definitely worth the money, I'll say that. In case you're wondering, the ink is Namiki Black. They're a small Japanese company. They only make 2 inks. They make a black and a blue. It's actually slightly lighter than sort of what you'd expect. So I don't know how the lighting will make this turn out, but it's not super deep black. It works quite well on this pen. However, this ink, even though it's not marketed as it, it's very, very waterproof. So getting it off of things, including your hands, is extremely difficult. So if you're filling this pen, I mean, be careful, I guess. I mean, I don't know if you can see it, but it's sort of on the nib, and I don't really want to try and get it off. So, anyway, so I'm gonna probably do another review of another pen, probably in the next few days. But of course, most of my stuff is electronic. This is just sort of an interesting video I thought I'd put out there, so don't lose faith. So thanks for watching.